श्रीशैलेशदयापात्रं धीभक्त्यादिगुणार्णवम् यतीन्द्रप्रवणं वन्दे रम्यजामातरं मुनिम् लक्ष्मीनाथसमारम्भां नाथयामुनमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् यो नित्यम् अच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मव्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणं प्रपद्ये लोकाचार्याय गुरवे कृष्णपादस्य सूनवे संसारभोगिसन्दष्टजीवजीवातवे नमः।
श्रीशैलेशदयापात्रं धीभक्त्यादिगुणार्णवम् यतीन्द्रप्रवणं वन्दे रम्यजामातरं मुनिम् यो नित्यमच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मव्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणं प्रपद्ये लोकाचार्याय गुरवे कृष्णपादस्य सूनवे संसारभोगिसन्दष्ट जीवजीवातवे नमः. Continue with the sutra number 91. ஈஸ்வரன் தனக்கே ஆயிருக்கும் அச்சித்து பிறர்க்கே ஆயிருக்கும் ஆத்மா தனக்கும் பிறர்க்கும் பொதுவாயிருக்கும் என்று முற்பட்ட நினைவு அங்கனன்னிக்கே அச்சித்தைப் போலே தனக்கேயாக எனைக் கொள்ள வேணும் என்கிறது நமஸ்ஸால். அதாவது போகதசையில் ஈஸ்வரன் அழிக்கும் போது நோக்க வேணும் என்று அழியாதொழிகை. In Namas, so these are the two sutras. This is commented as follows by Swami Manavala Mamuni. இந்நமஸ்க்கு பூர்வத்தில் பிறந்த பிரதிபத்தியை பற்ற இதில் பிறந்த பிரதிபத்திக்குண்டான வாசியை அருளிச் செய்கிறார். ஈஸ்வரன் தனக்கே ஆயிருக்கும் என்று தொடங்கி, அதாவது ஸ்வரூபம் சுவாதந்திரம் பகவதா என்கிறபடியே சுவாதந்திரமே ஸ்வரூபமான ஈஸ்வரன் ஸ்வார்த்தபரனாயே இருக்கும். चैतन्य रहितमाகையாலே தனக்கே என்கைக்கு யோக்கியதை எண்ணிக்கே பாரதந்திர ஸ்வரூபமாயிருக்கும் அச்சித்து பரார்த்தமாயே இருக்கும். சதுர்த்தியில் சொன்ன சேஷத்துவத்தையும் மகாரத்தில் சொன்ன ஞாதிருத்தத்தையும் உடையதான ஆத்மா ஞாதிருத்வபரத்தாலே ஸ்வார்த்தத்தைக்கும் சேஷத்துவத்தாலே பரார்த்தத்தைக்கும் பொதுவாயிருக்கும் என்று நமஸ்துக்கு பூர்வபதத்தில் பிறந்த பிரதிபத்தி. அப்படி எண்ணிக்கே பரார்த்ததைக வேஷமாகையானே பரார்த்ததைக வேஷமான அச்சித்து போலே தனக்கேயாக எனைக் கொள்ளுமீதே என்கிறபடியே அத்தலைக்கே ரசமாம்படி விநியோகம் கொள்ள வேணும் என்று அபேட்சிக்கிறது இந்நமஸ்ஸாலே என்கை. So in the chat box you have given the meaning of the sutras as explained by some scholar, I suppose. But the wordings that have been used, I don't know whether they exactly convey the meaning or not. So I will try to explain it in the way that I have understood it. So one very important aspect, as I was mentioning earlier, Suppose I take this entity, this pen. For whose sake does it exist? If this question is asked, then we say it exists for my sake. In the sense, it does not have any particular purpose of its own. So I request you to kindly acknowledge wherever possible, because I want to know whether the concept is clear. If it is clear, then we will proceed further. Otherwise, I will try to explain it in a more versatile manner. So now, for example, if you ask me, for whom do I exist? I exist for myself. I would say as an ordinary human being, I would say I am here for myself. I have so many aspirations to fulfill. So probably I want to own a big bungalow, I want to own a villa, or I want to own a yacht, a private yacht, or I want to own a private aircraft. I want to enjoy life. So I am here to fulfill my aspirations. So I am here for myself. So I will say, as an ordinary human being, everybody will say like that. Whereas, that is the Chetana. Chetana means a living entity will say, I am here for myself and not for anybody else. Whereas with an Achetana or insentient being, insentient entity like this, will it say something like that? No. It will not say anything at all, because it doesn't have any capability to think or speak, because it's an insentient entity in the sense it is what is known as Achetana. It doesn't possess consciousness. So here there are three classes of beings, as we know. One is the Ishvara. So Chit, Achit and Ishvara, we have the three tattvas according to Vishishta-Advaita philosophy. So Ishwaran tanakke aayirukkum. The Supreme Lord, for whose sake does he exist? He exists for the sake of himself. He is not here to fulfill the aspirations of any other person. Of course, that is the matter of the fact. Of course, he may actually give up all his ideas, he may give up everything that is under his control to satisfy one of his devotees in a particular case. But that is the exception rather than the rule. Because one of the Haridasas, so just like we have the Alvar's traditions in the Sri Vaishnava philosophy, it's not comparable to the Alvars, because the Haridasas were devotees, but though it is not correct to differentiate or distinguish between two devotees, when one actually compares the quality and also the exaltedness of the two literatures, namely what we call as the Dasa Sahitya in Sanskrit, in Kannada. These Haridasas, like Purandara Dasa, Kanaka Dasa, etc., they were also great devotees of the Lord. There is no doubt about it. There are several Dasas who are very much revered by the Madhva tradition. And predominantly they were all the disciples of the Madhva school of thought, or the sannyasins belonging to the Madhva school of thought. And they have also sung very greatly devoted poetry in propitiation in devotion of the Supreme Lord. And they also accept Lord Narayana as the Supreme, as is done in the Madhva philosophy. But when they don't have this concept of Divya Deshas and a Divya Desha being considered, or a chosen site being considered as a Divya Desha based on it being sung by an Alvar or something like this. All these things they don't have. And also, there is no what is known as Sampradaya Bhaga, as the Sri Vaishnava tradition has, where we have Shastra Bhaga and Sampradaya Bhaga. So Advaita philosophy has only Shastra Bhaga, no Sampradaya. Similarly, Madhva philosophy also, they don't have any Sampradaya Bhaga, only we have actually. But Madhva philosophy more or less follows the Sri Vaishnava philosophy because they also follow the Pancharatra tradition only as far as the Agama is concerned, that is the Pancha Samskara, Shankachakrankana, etc. are concerned. And that Agama is known as Tantrasara Agama. Tantrasara Agama is nothing but the Sara of the Pancharatra Tantra only. And Madhvacharya has written a few treatise having a few adhyayas only, which highlights the main aspects of Pancharatra and adopted them directly. So that way they also follow the Pancharatra tradition. But I understand that they have the Panchayuthas as for the what we call as, in English we call it as branding. I don't know that it is the right word because branding is used in a not a very respectable sense in English language. So you have to understand it in that way. They do branding. No, it's not like that. They do it on what is known as the Prathama Ekadashi. And one little bit peculiar thing is, in their tradition, every time the Acharya comes they meet the Acharya, they should have the branding. And second thing is, on Prathama Ekadashi day, they have to have the branding once or at some time or the other. And nowadays, what they do is it is totally unscientific and incorrect, according to persons who are in the know of things. So they get the branding done anywhere here, not only here, but just on the hand, somewhere on the hand, etc. It is not advisable. Of course, having the chinha or the insignia of the Lord is good. But why it should be done here, Bahumula? Here also some people do it here. But it should be done in a particular place. Having known the topography of the body, it should be done in a particular place only. Otherwise, it will not be beneficial, is what people say, because there is a certain nadi here and here. So it should, the tapa is when it is applied on the particular place. That too, some people actually, even in the Madhva tradition and Sri Vaishnava tradition, unknowingly, they heat the conch and chakra, that what is known as that insignia. They overheat it beyond boiling point, they heat it actually. And then when they put it here after the branding is done, it will result in the inflammation and so many other, that is after, suppose there is a burn, serious burn, then it results in inflammation and the skin coming out, and then there is a different color. Then by the time the skin grows back, it will take so much time. Until then it doesn't look very good, it looks scary. That should not be done actually. That is why it is tapa, means my Acharya used to tell. Only it should be done with optimum amount of heat. It should not be too cool, as it should not, as if not create an impression. But at the same time, it should not be beyond boiling point also. So many things, so many nuances are there in this regard, and it's very difficult to understand. And 90% of the acharyas, unfortunately, not to belittle anybody, we respect everybody. 90% of the acharyas are people who do these things, including several mataripatis. They are not aware of these things. But when I say that, some people might feel that it's as if I know everything and they don't know. It's not like that. They have not come across, or they have not been educated to all these aspects, or they are not exposed to these aspects. So I have one person who is a colleague. So every Prathama Ekadashi, their family, whoever Swamiji is there, that is, I'm talking about the Madhva philosophers. They go there and get the branding, and I ask them where. Oh, that person says, I got it here this time, I got it here, I got it here, I got it here. It doesn't have any. So these are all issues. Anyway, let us not worry about that. But these things need to be brought to the notice of people, because unless they are brought, it's not. Otherwise, they go unsaid, which will result in people not knowing at all about these things. But why I said this, Madhvacharya totally follows the Pancharatra Agama only. He has called it as Tantra Sara. That is the essence of the Pancharatra Tantra, and they follow it like that only. But the Sampradaya aspect is totally missing, because they do not have all these aspects, like what is the how a Bhagavata or a devotee should behave, what should be his disposition towards the world, what should be his worldview, and things like that. But the Dasas, Haridasas were great devotees, there is no doubt about it. But when we compare them to the stature of the Alvars are much, much, much higher. We cannot actually compare them, because the Alvars literature, etc., are of a very higher, or a greatly superior quality. Anyway, but what he says, one of the Haridasas says is, Huva Taruva Ramanike Hulla Taruva. The Supreme Lord is so benevolent that if you offer him flowers, he will bring you the hay or grass that is required to feed your cows. So the Lord is so benevolent that he will bring hay or grass to feed the cow of the devotee who offers him flowers. So ultimately what happens, the Lord, though he is for the sake of himself, when you go to the highest level of bhakti, what happens? The Lord becomes subservient to the bhakta. That is why Ramanujacharya says there is a very beautiful story. I don't know whether I should narrate it or not. Which actually summarizes the essence of Sri Vaishnava philosophy. I don't know whether I should narrate it now or narrate it some other time. What do you feel, Keshavdas?
Now, Swami, please say it.
Okay. So there is a very beautiful story which also depicts the greatness of Ramanujacharya. So it seems there was a great devotee called Somayaji Andam. Somayaji means he had performed several Soma sacrifices. And it seems that he used to stay in our own exalted chosen site of Melkote, that is Tirunarayanapuram. So he is known as Somayaji Andan. Somayaji means a person who performs the Somayaji. Just like Ramanujacharya's father was known as Keshava Somayaji, who was actually performing several Somayagas. One of the most exalted yagas according to the Vedic tradition, or the Shrauta tradition. So he was so close to the Lord that whenever he used to sing in a very devoted manner. And whenever he used to sing, the Lord used to appear in front of him and dance before him and give the divine vision of the Lord. The Lord used to depict himself as dancing before before Somayaji Andan when he used to sing. So Somayaji Andan used to enjoy it. So who will not enjoy the pleasure of seeing the Lord himself dance? So he considered himself to be Somayaji Andan considered himself to be the greatest of the devotees. Because they say dancing to the tune of somebody means what? You are totally controlled by that person. So he thought the Supreme Lord, whom we call as Akhilanda Koti Brahmanda Nayaka, who he is all pervading, omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, etc. He takes a human form before me and dances to my tunes. So that means in a way, I am controlling the Lord, or the Lord is being controlled by me, so I am the greatest devotee. Then Ramanujacharya happened to visit Melkote, as you now know, when he came from Srirangam and he visited Melkote. And since Ramanujacharya also was of that stature, of a devotee of that stature, he could understand how Somayaji Andan sung and how the Lord used to appear before him and dance. He could actually envision, that is the right word, I think. Because ordinary people like us, we cannot see what is happening. We may feel Somayaji Andan is just singing and enjoying, that's all. But Ramanujacharya, being exalted or the most exalted devotee himself, he could visualize the great pleasure or ecstasy Somayaji Andan used to derive when he used to sing. And the Lord used to come and dance in front of him. But Ramanujacharya found that Somayaji Andan had not attained what we know as Purnata or completeness. But how to tell Somayaji Andan? Because Somayaji Andan was elder to Ramanujacharya in age. Generally, if a younger person has to tell something to the older person, he has to be very careful. Because it's human psychology. So suppose tomorrow a young boy comes to me and tells me, you have to do like this or you have to do like that. Will I listen to him? Generally, my ego will not permit me to listen to him and respect what he says. But in Sanskrit, there is a saying, Yukti Yuktam Vachograhyam Baladapi Shukadapi. If something very logical and correct is mentioned by somebody, be it a young boy or be it even a parrot, it has to be accepted and one has to follow it. But that's a different issue. But human psychology is that if somebody very much younger to me in age comes me, unless I have accepted his superiority, if he comes and tells me something, I will not listen. That is natural. It's not unnatural. But if I am modest enough or if I am open enough to realize the value of what a young boy is telling, then I may listen to it and accept it. That's a very rarest of the rare things in this world. So Ramanujacharya was younger than Somayaji Andan in age. So then he asked, but he wanted to make Somayaji Andan realize that he had not attained completeness as a devotee. How to do it? Then one day, Somayaji Andan was sitting alone near the temple. And then he approached Somayaji Andan and he conversed with him. Ramanujacharya paid his respects to Somayaji Andan. Was an elderly person who was staying there in the Divya Desha or in the village. And then after all the regular conversations, how are you, etc., Ramanujacharya said, I have a small doubt, sir. Can you clarify it? Then Swami Ajayanam said, oh, Ramanujacharya, you can ask me. Why are you so hesitant? I like you so much. You are such a great person. I like you so much. Why are you hesitating to ask a question? Then Ramanujacharya said, sir, you are so close to the Lord that when you sing, the Lord appears in front of you and dances to your tunes. So I think you have to clarify one doubt. What is the doubt? Is there eligibility to attain salvation? So Ramanujacharya worded the question in this manner. Is there eligibility to attain salvation? For whom he did not mention in the question. So Swamiyaji Andan interpreted this question as Ramanujacharya is asking me that whether Ramanujacharya is eligible to attain moksha or not. Whether Ramanujacharya wants to know whether Ramanujacharya himself is eligible to attain salvation or moksha or not, Paramapada or not. Swamiyaji Andan did not even venture to think that whether he himself, Swamiyaji Andan himself, is eligible to attain moksha or not, because he thought it is a foregone conclusion. Since I am such a great devotee that when I sing, the Lord comes and dances to my tunes. So the Lord is under my control. How can he not grant me moksha? He was under that impression. So when Ramanujacharya was very careful in asking, so he asked whether eligibility is there for moksha or not, for whom he did not mention. So Swamiyaji Andan interpreted it as Ramanujacharya is asking whether Ramanujacharya is eligible for moksha or not. Then he told, oh Ramanujacharya, yes, I will ask the question and I will convey the meaning to you tomorrow. You please come. So that day when Swamiyaji Andan sang and after all those things, he had a dialogue with the Lord and he asked the Lord, oh, today a devotee called Ramanujacharya had come. He wanted me to ask you whether he is eligible to attain moksha or not. Then it seems the Lord said, oh, why is he having this doubt? Not only Ramanujacharya, but everybody who follows Ramanujacharya is eligible to attain moksha. You please tell me. That's what the Lord said. The next day Ramanujacharya came to Swamiyaji Andan and Swamiyaji Andan said, oh Ramanuja, you're a very lucky person. The Lord told me not only you are eligible to attain moksha, all those who are your devotees who follow you, they will be granted moksha by the Lord. So you can rest assured. You need not worry at all about it. So Ramanujacharya then he was a little bit embarrassed. So Swamiyaji Andan did not understand the purpose of my question. What should I do? Then, so he summoned all his courage, because Swamiyaji Andan is senior to him in age. Then he said, sir, I am so glad, so grateful to you that you have asked the Lord about my moksha. What about your moksha? Have you asked the Lord? He summoned all his courage and asked. Swamiyaji Andan immediately he got a little bit upset, a little bit angry. What is this? How dare you ask this question? When I sing, the Lord himself comes and dances in front of me. How can he not grant me moksha? Is it not my right? Then Ramanujacharya said, sir, I am sure you are the most eligible person. But why don't you just confirm it with the Lord? He is so close to you. Every day you converse with him. Every day he dances when you sing. So why don't you just, it's as a matter of confirmation, what is wrong in seeking confirmation from the Lord? Then said, okay, fine. In his mind, it was a foregone conclusion. So he said, yeah, fine, I'll ask the Lord, what is the big issue in that? So next day when the Lord, he sang and when the Lord appeared and danced to his tunes. After the dance was over, he asked the Lord, oh Lord, I am sure I am eligible for moksha, is it not? Then the Lord said, no. Immediately Somashianda was taken aback. He was totally disillusioned. He said, oh Lord, you have granted me what you have not granted to anyone. When I sing with devotion, you will come and dance in front of me. How can you not grant me moksha? Then the Lord said, the relationship I and you have, of course, as a devotee, I have a lot of devotion for you as my devotee. But the devotion you have towards me is that of a trader. So your devotion is of a very high level, where when you sing, you expect me to dance. So whatever indebtedness I have to you towards you for your devotion, I have cleared that debt. I cleared that debt immediately by dancing in front of you and giving you bliss. So there ends our relationship. So in Tamil he says, Neer paadi neer naam aadidon. You sang and I danced. So there ends our relationship. Of course, I like you, etc. But that doesn't qualify you for attaining moksha. Then Somashyanda was overcome with remorse. And what should I do? The Lord said, why are you asking this question? Because I have told all those who follow Ramanujacharya are eligible to attain moksha. You also do the same thing. Then Swami asked, what is so great about Ramanujacharya? Why this undue credit or due credit to Ramanujacharya? What is so great about it? Then the Lord said, without expecting anything in return, a person who is a devotee is a real devotee. So he says, Swatmadanena apitruptim manabhamana. So Ramanujacharya is so great that he has offered everything that belongs to him. He doesn't even consider it that something belongs to him. And therefore, everything has been offered by him. Everything that he supposedly possesses has been offered to me by him. So I feel I can never give back his debt, even if I give my entire self to him. So that is the mark of the greatest devotee, and that is what Ramanujacharya is. So I am bound by, not bound by Ramanujacharya, I am bound by his devotion. That whatever I do, I will not be able to repay his debt. That is the greatness of Ramanujacharya. So this is the beautiful story. And then next day when Ramanujacharya came, Swami Ajiyanda immediately prostrated before Ramanujacharya. And he said, I accept your supremacy. and you have to guide me towards moksha. And then Ramanujacharya, with open hand, said, "No, you are a great devotee." He does. Ramanujacharya did not say, "Okay, come, I'll accept." Of course, he accepted him as his disciple, but he never showed any superiority and said, "No, we are all devotees of the Lord." And he made him one of the 74 Simhasanadhipatis of the Sri Vaishnava tradition, 74 presiding acharyas. And even today, his persons belonging to the lineage of Ramayana are very much there in Karnataka and many other places. So the real mark of a real devotee, or the mark of a real devotee, is he expects nothing in return. And that is what is well explained or well embodied in this story, which is in the form of a dialogue and events associated with Ramanujacharya and Somayaji. So today we will conclude the session here because there is an unexpected visitor. So I hope you will not mistake me. They are not considered proceeded as far as the text is concerned. But we will continue reading of the text from in the next week as usual. Today we will conclude here. But I am very happy because I did not, when I started the class, I had no inkling that I would be mentioning about this, narrating this story. So I hope you have enjoyed this story. Even I have enjoyed it while narrating it to me. And one very important analytical aspect my Acharya used to tell. Since Somayaji Andan also was such an exalted devotee, he could immediately accept the superiority of Ramanujacharya as soon as the Lord pointed it out to him. Only a real devotee will accept the supremacy of another devotee. If he is a half-baked person, definitely he'll say, "Who are you to tell me?" Or, "I know what he is," or something like that. Since Somayaji Andan also was an exalted devotee, or a devotee of a very high order, he could accept what the Lord told, and without any inhibition, he actually prostrated before Ramanujacharya and became his disciple. So this is the what we call as known as the kashta of Sri Vaishnavism, or the most exalted state of a devotee. So these are all very, very, very important and unique nuances that exist in what we call as the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya or the Bhagavata Sampradaya, where a devotee always feels, a real devotee always feels he is inferior to all other devotees. So, because he says, when he sees others, he always sees them with great reverence. That though he himself is an exalted devotee, he doesn't consider himself as better than them. In fact, he feels the more evolved the devotee is, the more he feels he is subservient to the devotee of 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 the Lord. That's why we call it as Saptaparvadasya Charamavadidasya, etc. That is the essence of Vaishnavism, that he'll never feel enamored or he'll never feel threatened by another devotee or whatever, other devotees. So if there are some instances where, is he a great Sri Vaishnava or somebody, something like that, a person who says like that definitely doesn't qualify to be a Sri Vaishnava. So but it's very difficult, and only 1 in million or 1 in billion people can be like that. Because today everybody in every sampradaya, whether it is this or that or any, I will not take any names, So many Sri Vaishnava branches are there, so many Vaishnava branches are there, sects are there. In all sects, we see people of the higher level quarreling with each other, etc. But a real devotee will not actually enter into any quarrel. He will not have any competition with anybody because he is so much filled with himself. And in case the Lord gives an order, even a small inkling of what he should do, he will immediately, implicitly accept the superiority of the other devotee. In case he questions, then he himself doesn't qualify to be called as a Sri Vaishnava. This is the essence of Sri Vaishnavism, which is beautifully brought out in this anecdote of Ramanujacharya and Swami Ajahn. So with these words, I conclude today's discourse. Any observations, questions? Quickly, we have a few minutes time.
Yeah, so Swami, this story comes from where? Guru Parampara Prabhupada?
It is mentioned in the Guru Parampara Prabhupada, yes. Of course. It's not without evidence. Definitely it is there in Guru Parampara Prabhupada. You can see it. And also in few other works also it is there. Yes.
So can you say, you were saying about the Madhvas follow the Pancharatra, and following, they have the book Tantra Sasangraha by Madhva, and they do the Tapta Mudras, but they do it in the Shayana Ekadasi. When
no, not in Shayana Ekadasi. Shayana Ekadasi, that is Prathama Ekadasi, correct. Yes, you're right. We call it Prathama Ekadasi because it is the first Ekadasi after the Dakshinayana comes. Yes, that is Shayana Ekadasi, correct.
So but if they follow Pancharatra, in Pancharatra, the Panchasamskara ceremony is given in Pancharatra?
Yes, Pancharatra only gives Panchasamskaras. Nowhere else it is mentioned. And we are all Pancharatrikas.
Right, but there are several type of dikshas in Pancharatra. But where exactly does the Panchasamskara come from?
Sri Vaishnava Diksha is common, that is for all Sri Vaishnavas, which is being followed now. But further than that, if you have to become an Archaka, then you have Chakrabdi Mandala Diksha and all those Dikshas. But that is specific for a person who does the Aradhana, Thiruvaradhanam or Puja in a temple. That Diksha is different. That is Chakrabdi Mandala Diksha, then you have the Chakrabdi Mandala, then you actually put a flower on one of the names, then you have one of the 12 names and all those things. That is exclusive only for those who do Parartha Yajana, worship in the temples. So, Puja or Aradhana is of two types, Swartha Yajana and Parartha Yajana. Swartha Yajana is for the benefit of one's own sake and his immediate family members. That is Griha Archana or the household puja. Whereas Alaya Archana is different. So Alaya Archana Vidhi is totally different, Griha Archana Vidhi is totally different. So Alaya Archana, if he has to do, then he has to take, that is separate Diksha, that is Chakrabdi Mandala Diksha, and many other Diksha procedures are mentioned. That has to be taken, definitely.
Right, no, so I understand that. So according to Padma Samhita, they have the Chakrabdi Mandala Diksha. But what I'm asking is the regular Diksha, the Samashrayanam, the Pancha Samskara that Sri Vaishnavas practice, is it coming from a particular Samhita? Is it coming from a particular place in Pancharatra?
Yes, it is mentioned in the Samhitas, and also there is a work called Sudarshana Surudrama, authored by a great scholar called Anantacharya, who is going to be 120 years old this year. So he was born in 1821 and he lived in Melkote. And he has given all the pramanas, the Shruti pramanas, also from the Vedas till the Pancharatra Agama, where all this has been mentioned and how it is according to the Vedic tradition. So it's a treatise of a very high order, which is in Sanskrit, and it is known as Sudarshana Surudrama.
Right. And my last question is about the Tapta Mudra Dharanam. the Taptamudra Dharanam, sometimes I've heard that if a person is very old or sick and he's doing that and he's getting the Taptamudra Dharanam, sometimes people are doing it only with a flower. I've heard that people are doing something like that.
As far as my knowledge goes, doing with a flower is there are two or three schools of thought in this. So as per the Vaikhanasa tradition, they do it in flowers. Using flowers as soon as the child is born, on the 11th day, when the Namakarana or something, the Vedic sacramental samskaras are done, on that day itself, it is done according to some people. And according to some people, the Vaikhanasas, for the Vaikhanasas, they said Lord has given a boon where it is done while the child is in the womb only. That is another school of thought. But as far as the Pancharatrika system is concerned, no, it has to be Taptamudra Dharana alone has to be done, and only when the Taptamudra Dharana is done, he becomes a Shiva Vaishnava. Otherwise, he does not become a Shiva. He cannot be considered a Shiva Vaishnava. So that is why in our tradition, so suppose my father has to partake the food a person has prepared, he has to have had the Taptamudra Dharana. So suppose I cook without having the Taptamudra Dharana, he will not partake of that food. Whether it is ladies or gents, they should have had the Taptamudra Dharana. Otherwise, they will not have the food prepared by such persons. Even though he might be his own son or brother, younger brother or elder brother, who it is. But these traditions are fast vanishing. And it is nowadays it's very difficult to follow these traditions because people who are born in the Shiva Vaishnava families in India, day by day, the thing is extremely deteriorating. In the last 20, 30 years, it has greatly deteriorated. And people don't have faith in these things. So they are trying to adopt the Western lifestyle, whereas the Westerners are trying to adopt the Indian lifestyle. So the Westerners are enamored about our tradition, whereas our people who are born in our tradition, they are enamored about the West. So many of my relatives, close relatives, many of them are in the West, and they say they should. I will not mention anybody's name. They say eating meat or drinking alcohol, etc., which they did not do until now when they were in India. Now they are actually breaking the shackles and openly taking to these things and abusing things and things like that, which is a pity. But ultimately, it is a pity because they don't realize the value of these things. When they are young and when they are in their youth, they feel the pleasure derived from these things is permanent, or they don't realize the pitfalls that are there in these things. Due to that, they are enamored and they feel that they were bound by certain what is that? Traditions. Traditions are they were actually bound by some shackles, which they have overcome after coming to the West. So ultimately, how can a person spoil himself? He can spoil himself by drinking and having illicit relationships and all those things, and also even eating meat or even things like that. What else can a person do to spoil himself? But some aspects are permitted, because I used to ask my acharya. So if meat is part of their regular diet, which has come to them from many traditions, then is it not incorrect not to have it? Or if alcoholic now in the West, in many parties, alcohol is now over drinking or binge drinking or whatever you call it. That is bad, but as a social norm, it is accepted. is it not right to say something bad about it? Then my Acharya used to say, in Mumuksupadi there is a beautiful saying, Na mamsa bhakshane doshaha na madhye na cha maithune. So when the first portion of this verse is read, people may become flabbergasted. Where Manu says, there is nothing wrong in eating meat, nothing wrong in consuming alcohol, and also nothing wrong in sexual pleasures. But the next sentence is very striking. He says, Pravrittiresha bhutanam nivrittistu mahabhala. This is the natural tendency of all beings. But desisting them from them is of great, great, great benefit. So this summarizes. So even if it is in the tradition, his father has been eating meat, grandfather has been eating meat. If he eats meat, nothing wrong. But in case he desists from it, the fruits he derives is very, very of a very high order. So this is what is mentioned in the Mumuksupadi, which we all, of course, respect. And even Krishna, even medically, now there has been so much of evidence that eating meat and consuming alcohol is bad for health. Of course, modern medicine doesn't take into consideration the spiritual well-being, because they don't consider the existence of Atma only. So they don't consider the existence of the soul, because they say there is no evidence. But we who believe that is the basic of every philosophy in India, especially Sri Vaishnava philosophies, to overcome the Dehatma Abhimana, or the illusion that this body itself is the soul. So that is where Sri Vaishnava philosophy starts. So that is where we start and we say, desist from these things, don't do it. And I have seen many people, some people with whom I work, elderly people, they in their tradition, meat eating is permitted and they have been brought up as meat eaters. But after a particular stage, they say, no, I'll never touch meat in my life, because all my good things will go if I eat meat. The day I eat meat, I feel so bad. So hereafter, I will not touch it. I have seen many people who don't belong to the Brahmin community, who belong to other communities, with whom I have close relationship. In the sense I work under them and things like that. And they mention it. Even with regard to onion and garlic, my Acharya had a disciple who belonged to the Veerashaiva sect. So in the Veerashaiva sect, the eating of onion is not only permitted, it is glorified. Because of a particular story that happened in the life of Basaveshwara, who founded the Veerashaiva philosophy. But that disciple of my Acharya used to say, though in our, as a Veerashaiva, he would say, though in our tradition we glorify the eating of onion, I will not touch onion, because every time I eat onion, I consume onion, I can understand and realize the tamasic effect on me that it has. So though as a Veerashaiva, onion eating is glorified, I will not touch it. So onion and garlic he never used to consume, though he was supposed to do it. So even in his society, social thing, he would say, yes, he would, as if one small morsel of that onion dish he used to take it, not take it at all. That's what my guru used to tell. So these are all not only because they have been ordained in the Vedas or the Shastras, even by our own experience, we can see that consuming of onion and garlic is detrimental to our spiritual upliftment. Meat, alcohol, all these things. So today we have digressed from the topic, but I hope you will not be minding, the participants will not be minding. Thanks very much. Ached Ramanujetyesha Titurakshari कामवस्थां प्रपद्यन्ते जन्तवो हन्तमादृशः पुण्यां भोजविकासाय पापध्वान्तक्षयाय च श्रीमान् आविरभूत् भूमौ रामानुजदिवाकरः ऋणीकृतविरिञ्चारिनिरङ्कुशविभूतयः रामानुजपदाम्भोजसमाश्रयणशालिनः।